everybody? Today we've got Clay Manship. Thanks for coming, Clay.
You bet, John.
You've all probably seen him on Bigger Pockets or sent him an email. He is the acquisitions manager for Tripro Investments.
That's correct, yeah.
As well as a wholesaler himself and an investor.
That's right, that's right.
So we're going to ask him some questions and see what it's all about. So how did you get your start in real estate?
Yeah, I guess long story short, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad late in high school, and I knew going into college, I kind of had that light switch flip and said, you know, maybe I don't want to be an employee my whole life. Maybe I want to find a way to support myself and own a company and distinguish assets from liabilities. And started looking at student rentals, which it doesn't take a brain surgeon to understand how much money guys who own property near college campuses make. And so saw that firsthand by paying rent and realized I hated paying rent. And so by my junior and senior year of college, my brother and I had bought a couple different properties, and we're just looking to expand. We went to college in Cincinnati and ended up moving back here to figure out real estate back here in Indianapolis.
So how did you get your start with Tripro Investments?
Yeah. So Tripro Investment Properties is owned, operated by a gentleman named Steve Lawson, great guy. We're up in Carmel, and Steve and I run a turnkey operation. Tripro is a full turnkey operation, having full property management, construction, leasing, and also the sales side of things. So I got started with Tripro 2-3 years ago when I was 23 at the time and was buying a lot of real estate and was just looking to build my own personal portfolio to get paid rent, like we talked about earlier. And looking to do that, I had 2 or 3 properties I was looking to buy, and as a young guy, I didn't have the capital to follow through with the purchase. And so I was scrambling around. I really didn't want to lose my $250 in earnest money, and just wanted to find a way to still move the transaction. And I'd read on Bigger Pockets and some of these other websites about this wholesaling thing, and didn't know anything about it. And so I called some friends who I'd met in the real estate game and tried to understand what I needed to do to take this contract, make it someone else's, and get paid in the process. And so I backed into Steve by literally picking up the phone and calling 4 or 5 guys who I knew were buying properties in that neighborhood and said, hey, Steve, would you like to buy this property? And that was deal number 1. And 20, 25 deals later with Steve, he pulled me by the arm and said, hey, I'm tired of buying your properties all the time. Why don't we just partner up and do this thing together? So, that's why we're increasing volume, and that's how I got interacted with Steve.
So I know that you and Steve do the turnkey rental and stuff like that. Do you do a lot of flips and stuff too, or? Yeah, nothing specifically with Steve. We've certainly evaluated a couple for us to do kind of as a partnership. Steve has a couple going right now by himself. But in looking at flips, like I said, I'm still a young guy. I'm still trying to get my feet wet with the flip side of things. And I've finally got the deals coming in and the capital coming in on this side. So it's taken 2-3 years of proving myself to investors and really getting my hands dirty with the deals, but we're finally there. So I'm 25 now. My goal is to have 3 completed flips by the end of this year. And so we can do a second interview in 2017 and see if I met that goal or not. Still pretty young.
You're right. Yeah.
I've never done a flip.
It's coming along.
Do you feel like the Indianapolis real estate market's changing a little bit recently, or?
I think so. And I think you talk to most investors who are more experienced than myself in the area, they'd tell you the same thing. And it all goes back to supply and demand. Right now there's much more demand than there is supply. And that is, I don't know if it's artificial yet, but it's certainly pushing prices up. I've been involved in Indianapolis real estate since I was 22. And, I got involved in 2010. So all the prices have done nothing but increase since I've been involved in real estate. So that being said, as a wholesaler, even 12 months ago, it was easier to find a deal, and it was priced differently than it is now. And so when you're looking at how I'm operating in my wholesale game now, people will always pay for a deal. There will always be deals there. People will always pay for them. And as this market shifts and the prices increase as they are right now, those folks who still want the deals are willing to pay more simply because of the scarcity of the deals right now. Mm-hmm. So we're getting paid more for wholesale deals right now, and for the next 6-12 months, I see that continuing.
And then in turn, you could probably sell them for more money by the time you get them flipped or whatever.
Absolutely.
So it all kind of.
It's the same things reflected in our turnkey business. I mean, there's so much more demand right now than we can find properties for. So we're having a hard time meeting the supply of the deals that can in turn meet that demand the investors have.
Where do you think, in your wholesaling, not necessarily doing the acquisitions, but in wholesaling, where do you feel like you get your best leads from?
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of a different story. I mean, I started doing wholesaling by writing a simple letter and sticking it in someone's mailbox. If you think bigger picture than that, I knew where to go based on me knowing the neighborhoods. So I encourage all wannabe wholesalers, new real estate investors, get in your car, get a cup of coffee, and just go drive through neighborhoods and start to know neighborhoods that you live in, you like, your friends live in, and know the streets, know the houses, and understand what the numbers are for each street and each neighborhood. And so I'm finding the best deals now because I know specifically where I need to target. You know, I've got extremely strict criteria for my wholesale business, and I know before I even show up for the appointment what I need the numbers to be. And so that's where I'm getting the most deals, is simply because I'm an expert negotiator. That's what I pride myself in, and I know exactly where I need to be before I even show up. And I think a lot of wholesalers make the mistake of showing up, sweet talking someone, getting a number, and then not knowing if that will work. It's best to know concretely before you show up how to make that happen.
Where you need to be.
Absolutely.
What is your criteria for Tripro Investments?
I guess I'll start by saying we're doing 12 to 15 deals a month right now, and as this paradigm shift, this market shift right now, we have to shift too. We have to pivot as an organization in order to meet the acquisition needs of our clients. So our typical bread and butter property is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000 square feet, brick ranch somewhere in the townships. And every sane real estate investor you'll talk to will have the same criteria.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone wants the exact same thing. But that being said, you know, we're in the middle of doing a lot of different things now that allow us to pick up more inventory. We're doing some more 2-bedrooms, which we haven't done frequently, multi-units. So we buy a lot of duplexes. We're buying in less than desirable neighborhoods than we typically have bought to kind of create a Section 8 tenant base and a Section 8 a turnkey base to sell a turnkey Section 8 property. So a lot of different ways we're moving. And I hate telling people that are selling to us and selling to me, we have certain strict criteria, because at this point in time we don't. We're looking for the best deal.
Just looking for a good deal,
and
right?
If the deal's there, we'll make it work 100% of the time.
When I first started sending you guys deals, I was kind of finding some deals on Craigslist and stuff like that, send them to you and realizing that you've probably already seen that property like 10 or 15 times. And I didn't realize that was going to be the case necessarily at the time. Do you see a lot of that, or a lot of new wholesalers kind of feeling out the Craigslist route? Or
the way I look at it is the way you started is exactly the way I started, in the sense of understanding, you know, get a property under contract at X, sell it at Y, and you get to keep the spread. And so I encourage people, you just have to find a way to get started. I don't care if it's sending me or any other wholesaler properties we've already seen. At least you're starting the mindset of understanding what you need to do to make a deal happen.
Yeah.
And so my very first wholesale deal personally was a duplex that I was looking to buy personally. It was listed on the MLS for $60,000 a couple years ago, and I think I had it under contract at $38,000 or $39,000. And so it was a significant discount off the MLS. And so again, I didn't know too much about this wholesaling thing, but I understood conceptually what it was. And so again, I couldn't close on it personally because I didn't have the funds, and so I called up this guy, Steve Lawson, who I knew bought properties in the area, and said, "Hey, would you like to buy this property?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll buy it at X." And so I bought it at X, he bought it at Y, I kept the spread, and that was my first big boy wholesale deal, and off the MLS, of all places. So everyone starts somewhere. I encourage people just to start thinking in that mindset and asking why they're doing what they're doing to get to the big picture.
And a lot of times, I feel the same way about an MLS property. Like, you see it listed on the MLS, like, why wouldn't somebody, if they wanted it, why wouldn't they have bought it already?
Right.
But then maybe as a wholesaler, you can use your negotiation ability to go in there and maybe offer it to the buyer at a significant discount versus what was on.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right, John. And it's certainly easier to sell a property when it's not listed on market. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I don't encourage anyone to wholesale MLS properties. It seems shady, and it's just not the best way to go. But that being said, you think about these Craigslist properties that are listed. They have a price tag next to them. You know, not everyone who has access to Craigslist knows they're available for sale. You were asking earlier if I see a lot of those deals come across my desk, and the answer is yes, dozens every day. And it's just people kind of tacking on their fee and then passing it up the food chain. The best way to get involved with what you're doing is to find those ground level deals. That's where you can tag on the most profit for your wholesale business, and then find an end buyer like myself, or some of these big institutional players who always have cash, can always buy quickly, and again, it's always goes back to finding the deal. So if you see or you're seeing these deals on Craigslist, you're seeing these deals that are mass marketed via email and all these other creative ways folks are trying to tell you about their properties, chances are these wholesalers are their top 3-5 buyers have already passed on them. For whatever reason, they don't like them. And most of the deals that I buy, that are some of the best deals I buy, coming to me by a phone call or a text message or folks who I know and trust who know that they can rely on me to buy properties. And so going back to the Craigslist thing, if you're seeing these properties over and over again on Craigslist, there's a reason why. And it's because the top 5, 10, 20 buyers don't want anything to do with them.
Because they can't sell them.
Right, they can't sell them. And so that's kind of the way I think of the Craigslist regurgitated stuff.
After a while, you just wish they'd take them down.
You'd think they would.
Because it's like after 6 months, you're like, God, dude, you're tired of just filtering. Because sometimes I do find just sellers on Craigslist. I've gotten like directly to a seller from Craigslist. They'll just post an ad trying to sell my house. And those are good.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you got to filter through all the people on Craigslist, all the rent to buys, all the people that have been posting the same proproperties for 2 years.
And you're already thinking more creatively than most wholesalers do. I mean, thinking along the lines of, how do I do something differently to distinguish myself? I found a good couple deals on folks posting, mom and pop investors who are posting on Craigslist, I need to rent my house for, and they're posting significantly under market value for their house. And so you call them up and say, hey, I don't want to rent your house, I'll buy it from you, and here's what I can offer you. And we've gotten a handful of deals just doing stuff like that. So thinking creatively and I call it guerrilla marketing, finding creative ways to attract clientele and attract deals for your business.
I mean, I think that's it again. I think we did. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining me.
You bet, John.
We'll get it posted as soon as possible.
Appreciate the time.